Congressman, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure to be here this evening. And I would like to really thank the members who are here tonight. We haven't had a chance to do that yet. We thanked a number of people, but you were all voting while we were thanking them. So could I please thank the members for their presence here tonight? Thank you. There are two main points I would like to make, and then I'd like to do a deep dive into, as the Congressman said, some success we're having in Gabon. Key point I would start with: we don't know what we don't know. The secret to success is being able to recognize when we don't know what we don't know. And when it comes to the subject of biodiversity, that has been a growing awareness in terms of learning when, how, where, why, who. We don't know what we don't know. The second major learning when it comes to biodiversity and when it comes to our responsibilities is when you make a mistake, acknowledge that mistake, learn from that mistake, and move on. So let me give you two examples. When we first went to Gabon some 40 years ago, this was a brand new country entry. And when you are in the kind of business we are in a country entry, you want to enter in a grand way and demonstrate your prowess so that you earn the license to operate and hopefully keep it. Well, we went to Gabon and we had to build housing for our employees. So we brought the best drawings, the best technologies that we have used around the world to Gabon to build housing for employees, and we had trouble building them. Trying to find local people who could build the housing was a challenge. What was wrong? And I'll never forget one of my first experiences visiting with the then chairman of Shell, who was actually in charge of this, said, we discovered that we brought the designs to build housing in Gabon which would withstand a Scandinavian winter. So we had roofs to build which would hold up to 3 feet of snow. Of course, in Gabon, equatorial Gabon, 3 feet of snow wasn't needed. So that's a very simple example. A second example is burying waste. Burying waste has long been thought of, many years ago, as the best way to get rid of it, right? Bury it. You don't have to see it. Well, we discovered that in equatorial Gabon, burying waste is a different kind of an issue. We made the mistakes of burying waste, which we had to resurface and deal with quite differently. But let me go into some depth on Gabon and sustainable development, because sustainable development has been a learning journey for us. If we go back to the late 1990s, facing the combined impact of a world awareness growing on the issues of extraction industries, growing on the awareness and the validity and legitimacy of environmental NGOs bringing their stories forward and bringing their principles and their issues, whether it's the Sullivan Principles on human rights or whether it is other principles brought by other organizations, to ignore those principles and to not be involved in the process of trying to understand and to help them evolve is to deny frankly, the undeniable. And we learned some lessons in the late 90s in the face of low-price oil and increasing environmental awareness and concern about how to approach sustainable development. So quite bluntly, in 1997, Shell made some critical decisions which impact us still today. We committed in 1997 to reduce our carbon footprint to below 1990 levels while growing our business by 2010. Over that period of the last 10 years, we're on track to reduce our carbon footprint as a company so that we don't talk about it, we show that we can do it, and we're on track to achieve that over the next couple of years. It's been difficult, it's been challenging, and it's been expensive. But we are able to say we can reduce a carbon footprint while increasing a business that is very heavily carbon-based, as we know. We also made a commitment to report to our stakeholders starting in 1997 that we would report with third-party audit validity our entire environmental, health, safety record to the people of the world. And we started publishing the Shell Report in 1997. We're now getting ready to do our 11th edition. I'm pleased to know that many other companies are now producing an environmental report which does describe the improvements, the changes, the track record, the mistakes, and what we're doing to continue to drive sustainable development through our entire business portfolio. But let's move a little more deeply into Gabon. As we considered our experience in Gabon, and the fact that we are, in essence, an extraction company, as Red Cavaney said so clearly, a group of engineers who like data, who like facts, who like to make decisions, and who like machines and who like equipment, we felt we need to reach out to people who know more than we know about what this means in this operating environment. And we became friends with the Smithsonian Institution. And over the past number of years, it's been a growing partnership with the Smithsonian Institution to understand the importance of the biodiversity of Gabon and to think about how we can combine our activities of continuing to produce roughly 70,000 barrels a day of oil while continuing to drill new wells. And Red described the process of shrinking the footprint and expanding the resource base underground. But to work with the Smithsonian in a partnership that actually began some 10 years ago when we had the opportunity to develop the Camisea Basin in Peru. Now, we gave up our interests in the Camisea Basin in Peru over some business principles issues where we were unwilling to compromise our business principles in order to continue to do business there. And as a consequence, we moved on. And so, but with the partnership with the Smithsonian, we'd learned so much about the flora and the fauna and the biodiversity in working with the Smithsonian that we invited this partnership to continue in Gabon. And so at the same time we're able to meet the needs of growing energy demand, we're also able to meet simultaneously the need to protect biodiversity. And Gabon has been an excellent way to do that. As you may know, Gabon is predominantly forest. 80% of Gabon is rainforest. It's home to incredible species of plant and animal life. Deep inside this rainforest, there is a place called the Industrial Corridor. This is where logging and oil producing takes place. And it's important that this corridor work compatibly with the entire industrial development, which sounds like a contradiction. How in a lush rainforest can you both do forestry and oil extraction and protect the biodiversity of the area? This is where the Smithsonian comes in. This is where the Smithsonian and its expertise is able to describe what it is that is important to protect. And so there are some, what may appear in some respects to be simple, but in an operating context they are not simple. But how, for example, do you narrow the roadways to only that exact amount of space that you must use in order to transport whatever you need to transport, so that animal migration, animal movement can continue as it has through the millennia in the rainforest in which the footprint is greatly reduced? How do you protect the flora and the fauna and the plant and the wildlife from the encroachment of human beings not from the area? So we've set up protocols and rules where Shell staff who work in the area are limited to their compound. They really cannot wander. They cannot go off and explore. They are limited to the area that is defined as that living area so as to protect the balance. When visitors come, visitors are first of all screened to make sure that they are not bringing something into the environment which is not natural to the environment. And so whether they're coming from South America, from Europe, from Asia, from the North America, they are not allowed into the area with anything that would be considered detrimental in terms of introducing. For example, if somebody's moving to Gabon, frankly, don't bring your plants from North America. If you're moving to Gabon, don't bring your cleaning detergents from Northern Europe. These are practical protocols which prevent the introduction into the community of things that are not welcome or not part of it. And so these kind of simple rules, which on the face of it seem simple, but they are so unnatural to the way in which we have historically done business, that it's about teaching people to value what they are coming into. And so the training and education of people. When it comes to best practices, how do you expand the best practice routines and behaviors and policies to the indigenous people who are used to a different way of life, who now with new jobs, with new income, would like the advantages of modernization? And so trying to find ways in which that can be compatible with the environment is also part of what we're working on. So we've learned from a few mistakes. We, for example, had to deal with fire ants from Brazil, in Gabon, and trying to find natural ways in which to eradicate the fire ants from Brazil without doing other damage to the environment has been an exercise in learning. Some partnerships and some perceptions of the community. Some parts of the community would like to see wealth creation, material accumulation, the kinds of things that you would expect. How to keep that compatible, as I just said, in the community is very important. So what you end up with is a lot of dialogue, a lot of discussion, a lot of debate. Some say it may slow down business. Well, I think it's important in this day and age of the license of the extraction industries to continue to operate in such a way that we can achieve our sustainable development objective, which is to enable the earth to continue to enjoy in future generations what future generations are entitled to enjoy in terms of natural well-being and natural endowment, is that you must make some choices about how you do business. And so while business is in part about making money, business is also in part about sustaining the ability of future generations to operate in the ways in which they should be able to choose to operate, not based upon how we have decided they will operate in the future. And so preserving and protecting the environment in which we operate is, our view, one of the best ways to do that. The Smithsonian has taught us a lot in ways in which we can value and see things that we didn't previously see. And we could go into much more detail about the fact that we have actually discovered new species and continue to discover new species of flora, fauna, and wildlife at the same time developing the oil fields of Gabon. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.